I don't think I've ever embarrassed myself this badly in my entire life. And the worst part? I might end up divorced because of it. It all started on April Fool's Day. Now, you have to understand something about me. Years of scrolling Reddit have completely destroyed my ability to trust anyone on that day. Every headline looks fake, every message feels like a setup. So when I got a text from my wife's side of the family saying there was an emergency family dinner that night at my mother-in-law's house, my first thought was, nice try. But then again, we hadn't all been together since Christmas, and I didn't want to look suspicious by refusing. So I told my wife we'd go. We were the last ones to arrive, and the atmosphere in the room hit me instantly. No laughter, no small talk, just silence and puffy red eyes. People sitting stiff at the table like they all just witnessed a car crash. We sit down. My wife's brother, Tim, clears his throat and says, "Ashley and I are getting divorced." He pauses. My stomach drops a little. Then he adds, "She's been having an affair with Chris." Now, to anyone else, this would have been devastating. But to me, in that exact moment, it sounded like the setup to the most elaborate April Fool's prank I'd ever seen. Why? Because Chris wasn't some random guy. He was basically family. He and his wife Jen lived less than a block away. They'd been married over 15 years, had kids the same age, barbecues together, vacations together. In fact, 2 weeks earlier, all 4 of them were in my house, flipping burgers in my backyard, looking like the perfect happy families. So when Tim said, "She's been cheating with Chris," my brain screamed, "No way, impossible. This is the prank." And then it got better. Apparently Jen, Chris's wife, had come home early from work, caught them together, and broke the news. Tim was devastated, the families were shattered, and now here they were, bravely telling us over dinner. The whole table sat in horrified silence. My mother-in-law was sobbing into her napkin. My wife looked like she was about to throw up. It was heavy. And then I opened my mouth. I clapped, slowly. Clap, clap, clap. And with the biggest grin on my face, I said, "Bravo! You guys should win an Oscar. Best April Fool's gag I've ever seen. I'm not falling for it." The room froze. My wife's face went pale. Tim just shook his head in disbelief. Ashley, the cheater, actually let out a short laugh before calling me a dumbass. And then my mother-in-law, who had been crying nonstop, completely broke down, stood up from the table, and left the room in hysterics. The silence that followed was the longest silence of my life. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. My wife turned to me and hissed, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I stammered, I thought it was a joke. It's April Fool's." But it was too late. Damage done. The rest of dinner was like sitting through a funeral. Nobody spoke, nobody looked at me, and I sat there sweating, wishing I could rewind time. When we got home, my wife ripped into me. "You made me look like an idiot in front of my entire family. Do you realize how insensitive that was? You laughed at my brother's life falling apart." I tried to explain, "It was just so over the top, it had to be fake. Nobody would actually announce something like that on April Fool's Day." She wasn't buying it. And here's where I made mistake number 2. In my guilt and panic, I did what any Reddit addict would do. I posted the whole story on Reddit. Within hours, it blew up. Thousands of comments, awards, people calling me an asshole, others calling me a legend, and a small minority saying, honestly, I might have thought the same thing. I was riding the high of internet fame until my wife saw it. She texted me while I was at work. So now the entire internet knows my family's business? Are you trying to get a divorce? I froze. She was furious. And to make it worse, I hadn't even bothered to change anyone's names in the story. Her family, who also uses Reddit, had seen everything. So now, not only am I the idiot who clapped at a divorce announcement, I'm also the idiot who broadcast it to millions of strangers online. The irony, I thought I was exposing their April Fool's prank. Turns out, I was the real fool all along. And if I'm not careful, I might be making my next Reddit post, TIFIU by turning my in-laws' divorce into my own divorce.